Hey, physics, Mr. Janowski here. This is from the new Chapter 9 study guide. So this is the first problem. This is one of our ratio problems. So we've got Alice and Billy are playing with springs, as you do. Alice compresses her spring three times as much as Billy compresses his spring, but Billy's spring is 4 times stiffer than Alice's spring. What that means is that Billy's spring has 4 times the spring constant of Alice's spring. So what is the ratio of their elastic potential energies? So there's our answer, EPEA equals 2.25 EPEB. But how do we get to that answer? So as usual, we're going to start off with step, What are we looking for and what units do we expect it to have? What we're looking for is the ratio of their elastic potential energies. So really that means EPE Alice over EPE Billy equals question mark. And what units will this have? This actually isn't going to have any units. When you're taking the ratio of energy divided by energy, the units go away. So my recommendation when you do one of these things is you should make a list of the things that you know. So what things do we know? We know that Alice compresses her spring 3 times as much as Billy's spring. So Alice compresses her spring 3 times as much as Billy compresses his spring. So what does that mean? The symbol we've got here is X. So X of Alice is going to compare somehow to X of Billy. X stands for the compression or extension of a spring. So the number is 3. On which side does the spring go, or does the 3 go? Does it go on the left or the right? Alice compresses her spring 3 times as much as Billy compresses his. It's going to go on the right. So I don't know how much Billy compresses his spring, but I do know that when Alice compresses hers, it ends up being 3 times as much as Billy's. The other thing we know is something about the spring constant. Billy's spring is 4 times stiffer than Alice's spring. So Billy's spring has 4 times the spring constant of Alice's spring. So we've got K of Alice equals something K of Billy, and our number is 4. Does the number go on the left or the right? Billy's spring has 4 times the spring constant of Alice's spring, so that means this time the number goes here on the left. All right, so that's the list of the things that we know. It's a good idea at this point, too, to remind yourself what formula are you going to use. So you're going to use your formula for EPE. So if you look down at the footer, it's going to say that EPE is equal to 1/2, a little weird there, KX squared. All right, so now, where do we start? I would go back to this point. EPE of Alice over something EPE of Billy. And this is going to equal something over something. So what you should do is make the top half equal to what the top half is and the bottom half equal to what the bottom half is. So our top half is EPE of Alice. All right, well, look at your formula for EPE. That means this is going to be equal to 1/2 K of Alice, X of Alice squared. All of this divided by the bottom half is going to be 1/2 K of Billy, X of Billy squared. And at this point, let's see if anything cancels. All right, half by a half, that cancels. That just goes away. And we can't cancel anything else out at this point, because at this point, the K's aren't equal to each other. K of A does not equal K of B, so they don't cancel. And our X's aren't equal to each other either, so they don't cancel. So now we have to keep going with this. We got rid of the half, so that's progress. So what we've got to do is go term by term and either keep the thing or replace the thing. And the rule is you will replace it if it is easy to replace, and you will keep it if it is difficult to replace. So let's first look at Ka, our first term there. And what do we know about Ka? We know that 4Ka equals Kb. That means it's going to be tricky to replace it because I've got that 4 hanging out in front, so I don't want to deal with that. So I'm going to end up keeping Ka. Our next term, x of Alice, x of a, which gets squared, x sub a, which gets squared, that's very easy to replace. X sub a is equal to 3x sub b. So what you've got to do is just replace it. Oop, already I'm making mistakes. 3x sub b. And the key idea here is if I'm replacing x sub a and that gets squared, the entire thing I replace it with has to also get squared. And sorry I ran out of room here. A little new at this program I'm working with, so cut me some slack. It'll take a while to get good at this. And my stylus just really sucks for this too. There's no way around that. But the top should be reading k of a times the quantity 3x sub b squared. And on the bottom half, what do we have? We have k sub b. If I look, that's very easy to replace because k sub b is equal to 4k sub a. So I can just replace that right away with 4k sub a. And then I have x sub b squared. That would be difficult to replace because of the 3 that's hanging out in front of there. So I'm going to keep that one. So that stays x sub b squared. And I can cancel some things now. So k of a and k of a will cancel. And I can't deal with the other stuff yet because of the rules of algebra, because of PEMDAS. So let me just rewrite this a little bit lower and we see what we get. So we still have EPA of Alice, not EPA, EPE, thinking of the Environmental Protection Agency for some reason. EPE of Alice over EPE of Billy. And what do we have so far? Well, we have the quantity 3x squared on the top. And be careful when you do that because when you square that, you have to square everything in there. So that's not going to give you 3x sub b squared. That's going to give you 3 squared or 9 x sub b squared. And on the bottom, we keep that 4 and we keep that x sub b squared. So make sure you're all right with the algebra that just happened there. When you square the quantity 3x sub b, x sub b, you get 3 squared x sub b squared. You end up with a 9 on the top. So now what cancels? The x sub b squared, that all cancels. And this is equal to 9 over 4. And in the answer up here, I wrote it that way because it's easier to type that in a Google Doc. 9 over 4, that's 9 quarters. That is equal to 2.25. So hopefully that helps. And again, this is my first crack at making a video like this. So hopefully this video works out all right. We'll see.